Good morning and welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Friday, May the 2nd, 2025. And as we start this, we're just maybe 10 seconds away from the market having been open for its first 30 minutes of the day. Off to a great start this morning. And I will be the first to admit, maybe not the first you're hearing, but I will be the one to just speak right up and say, I'm surprised. I'm a little bit, I would say, pleasantly surprised, but I'm surprised at what we've got going on in the markets this morning. This might have a little bit of a delay on it, but as of right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 342 points. It did go up as high as 400 points at one time. S&P up, close to 1% at 50 points up, and the Nasdaq up close to 1%. They're all right in that, 0.8 to 0.9% to the upside. And that's great news. That is absolutely great news. I'm only going to comment a little bit on this, and then I'm just going to talk a little bit about where we're at with one or two of our trades to make sure we're kind of in sync with each other and on the same page with these things. If you weren't watching this morning early, like in the hour to hour and a half, 2 hours before the market opened, initially futures were up a little bit on some signal that China was willing to come to the table on trade talks. What's interesting is I'm not seeing that story as one of the leading stories here, and yet that was the reason futures were up initially. Was the talk that China was willing to have talks about trade renegotiations. And then at 6:30 my time, 8:30 out on the East Coast, you had the jobs report came out, the full jobs report, and it was much better than what was expected. And I would have thought, because on Wednesday the private payrolls were not nearly as good as what was expected, and yet that ended up being a little bit of a boost for the markets because it increases the likelihood that the Fed is going to cut rates sooner than later, maybe more cuts this year than what's hoped for or expected. And then all of a sudden you get a consensus of 130,000 new jobs. It comes in at 177, and that's good news. That's a good jobs report, and the market's reacting positively to it. So it's really, the markets are weird in the sense that sometimes good news is bad news because of what the perception is of what it will cause the Fed to do, or increase the likelihood or decrease the likelihood of the Fed doing. And then other times, bad news is good news is bad news, and then other times good news is good news and bad news is bad news, and it's sometimes it's just really hard to figure out. Still, the super strong majority of people are betting that the Fed does not raise rates, that they leave it as is for next week. But I think the number continues to go up a little bit for the June meeting. No, I take that back. This is a surprise to me as well. Right now, the current rate is 425 to 450, and now there's a majority that think it's going to stay that way in June. Just yesterday, this was combined upwards of 65%. And so this is a big change this morning based on these jobs numbers. And I'm surprised that the markets are trading up as a result of it. I would have expected the markets to be down as a result of it. So now you get July as the time that people are looking at, and the betting markets are saying, there's where your 80 some odd percent chance is of a rate cut. I find myself surprised by that yet again. So very interesting what we have going on this morning. All right, let's and we'll see. It's early. It's 30 minutes into the market trading. Dow's up almost 400 again, but we'll see where it finishes. It's this story. This could cause a little bit of waves. This could cause a little bit of pressure if this story gains some traction. This type of rhetoric is not always appreciated. It's not always what people would like. So we'll see what happens and what ultimately goes on there. But I'll tell you just one last comment before I get into a couple of trades. as I was hearing on the news, I was listening and doing some other stuff at the same time, but I was hearing about what was underneath these numbers on these payrolls. It's the first time in a while, it's the first time in quite some time, I think, that government jobs were not like right up at the top or the top. And that's encouraging to me because I would prefer it not be a lot of government jobs. Government jobs still added to the overall number, but they weren't the number one driving thing behind it. And that's, to me, that's a good thing. So anyway, all right, let's talk a little bit really quickly about Johnson & Johnson. I in yesterday's podcast, I made no secret of the fact that I'm just ticked off by Johnson & Johnson. It really is frustrating, and I would go so far as to say it is upsetting to me that there's just no momentum that can seem to get it out of this rut that it's in. You talk about a rut. I mean, 157 on the high side, 154 on the low side, and it's ticked above there, several times, but just can't get the momentum to get over. Already today, it was up at 156, and now I see Johnson & Johnson now is only up 89 cents. And so already the initial, move that it had up is fading a little bit. To take it out of play for today so that we don't have to just sit there and watch it all day and wonder all day what may or may not happen with Johnson & Johnson. The adjustment that I decided to make for today, basically a two-part adjustment. Let me get this on your screen and just make sure if you haven't already done it. I did it right at the open, but if you have not already done it, we are basically just rolling the call side of the trade straight out in time. I still think Johnson & Johnson, based on their earnings, is going to get up above 157.50 and do so long enough for us to get to a break even or maybe a profit. So I'm just rolling this straight out. I think I put in a 38-cent per share limit order. I know I got filled. I didn't see exactly where I got filled, but I did get filled on the trade. And then, coupled with that, I don't want to keep on messing around with the put side of the trade. So grab the 15-cent per share credit by just rolling this up to 152.50. So I just turned the put side of it into a bull put spread. And that's where I'm at with Johnson & Johnson right now. So the puts, hopefully Johnson & Johnson now stays above 152.50 for the day, and the put side simply expires worthless, which is what I want to have happen. And the call side of the trade is rolled out 1 week. And like I said, I do still believe, and I wouldn't do this adjustment if I didn't believe this. I still believe that Johnson & Johnson, before we get to the end of next week, is going to finally just, make that little punch through that 20-day moving average and get up to and above 157.50. It may just be the type of thing where it can no longer resist the momentum of the overall market. That is genuinely my hope, is that the overall market continues to recover, continues to move up, and that continued move up just makes it impossible for Johnson & Johnson to stay in that little rut. That's what I believe is likely to happen. So that's why the move on that. Now, for those who are in our triple play trades, we got a little more going on. Did the exact same thing with Johnson & Johnson, but on the triple play trades that we have going on right now, we've got Meta is going to, we're going to get our full profit, our full target profit on Meta. That's an easy one. Caterpillar is right now trading higher than it needs to get our profit. But I'm going to tell you right now to be very, very careful with Caterpillar. If you're profitable, but you're not at the full target profit, you may consider just getting out of the Caterpillar trade and take what you can get. If Caterpillar finishes at or above 320 today, and right now it's at 321 and some change, I show it right now at 321.28. That's not the highest it's been on the day, but it's close. If they finish at 320 or above, you will make your full target profit, but they're so close, and I've seen them today above that a little bit and below that a little bit. The lowest they've been is 318.48, and that would be a trade killer if they dropped today or finished below where they've already been. So on Caterpillar, again, if you're profitable, maybe you just take the profit and get out. And then UPS, if you were watching on Discord, I am here's what I'm doing with UPS. I'm rolling both sides of the UPS trade. I am rolling out and I'm flipping it. So we've got a 102 100 call side. I'm rolling that out 1 week, but I'm rolling the 102 down to 98. So I am flipping this. I'm going out to 5.9, and I'm flipping it into a 198 bear call spread. And on the put side, we've got the 95 and the 93. I'm rolling that out 1 week and flipping. I'm taking the 93 and rolling it up to a 96. So it is going to become, or was it 94, 92? Now I'm forgetting. I need to look at my other screen here, make sure I'm giving you the correct number because I've already done it. I'm flipping it to a 95, 96. So I'm taking the 93 and moving up to a 96. On the put side, it will be a $1 spread, but it will turn into a bull put at 96.95. On the call side, it's a $2 spread. And what we want, we don't need to get all the way to the end of next week with these numbers where they're at. If we get to Wednesday of next week and we're still in between 98 and 96, and I'm starting to feel like that's going to be the case, or I would not make this adjustment. If we get there and that's where we're at, what this is going to do is dramatically lessen our loss. Between the two sides of the trade that we rolled, we are taking in almost $1. We only spent initially about $1.50, $1.60 on the trade, somewhere in there, $1.59, $1.58, depending on where you got filled. I could live with a 60-cent per share loss right now. And if we start moving up and threatening the call side of the trade, we'll make another adjustment, probably get a little more aggressive on the bull put spread. If we start going down, we'll probably get a little more aggressive with the call side and do something that will bring in more credit to the trade and use that as our means of getting out of the trade for as little damage as possible. So I'm optimistic on the triple play side of things. Like I said, we're going to get our full target profit. This is dramatically off on this Meta one right now because Meta, I don't know why those numbers refreshed the way they did. It's showing these numbers at a little over a $3.50 difference. They're closer to a $5 difference right now. Anyway, don't worry about Meta. Meta's going to close today with the full target profit quite easily. Caterpillar, like I said, they're at 320.75 now. And again, if that's where they finished, you would get your full target profit on Caterpillar. But don't be foolish on Caterpillar. If you can get out with profit on Cat, take whatever profit. If it's 2%, 3%, 5%, 6%, just get out, take the profit on Caterpillar. Don't mess with that one there. And then Meta's going to be fantastic. And I've gone over, Johnson & Johnson, same adjustment we made on the regular spread trade stuff because it's the same trade. And UPS I just went over. So that should bring you up to date. I'm not going to talk a lot about collar trades because there's nothing we need to do right now today with any of our collar trades. We'll make some adjustments on some of those next week, but nothing we need to do right now with collar trades today. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. I will be on Discord throughout the day. I will be taking anything that needs to be done, or if I see anything that's different than what I've already gone over, I will send it out on Discord and follow it up with an email. But otherwise, I think I've hit everything that I wanted to. So have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here. I'll be back online Monday at the close of the market with a recording as we send out new trades. And then I'm planning on Tuesday morning being online live 30 minutes into the open of the market. Wednesday, I will do some type of recording. Thursday, Friday, some type of recording. Monday, Tuesday of next week, some type of recording because I am going to be on vacation with my wife. So I'll still be following trades. I'll still be updating everything, but I'll be doing it from a different place and not going to spend quite as much time. So next week will be a little bit different, but it'll all be good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, great weekend. Bye-bye.